Now, I recently done a video on using momentum to get your press handstand. So coming from the back, putting lots of weight into the feet and the hips, using momentum to help you get your first press and slowly back the momentum off to make it slightly harder and eventually get that strict press to handstand. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the handstand push-up. Handstand push-up gives you a lot more options because you can use different equipment, you can bend your arms at different amounts, and you can take the shoulders forwards and backwards relative to the hands. There's lots of things you can play around with. Now, are you ready to start playing with this stuff? Basically, if you could do an eccentric handstand push-up, or if you can start to do like a crow down or crow up to handstand. So basically being able to go down from a handstand position, close the shoulders, bring the elbows, bring the knees to the elbows. If you can do that, if you can comfortably fall out of a handstand, so at the top, you can fall out, okay? You can do these drills up against the wall. I'll show you a couple of them up against the wall, but basically we're gonna play around with that momentum entry into the handstand using the bent arm, so handstand push-up type movements. So let's jump in with the easiest version. So the easiest version I think is the crow up to handstand. So we can use that tick-tock seesaw type movement to take the shoulders down and the hips up. If you're not doing things like L-sit to shoulder stand, I recommend you are. So the L-sit to shoulder stand is really cool to teach you that seesaw type movement. So as the hips come up, the shoulders come down. So you can see from that I'm creating momentum as I go round. So if you're not doing that, start with it strict to start with. Get comfortable in the shoulder stand position. Get comfortable in the L-sit, transition in between the two. And then very similar, you should have this already. So squat, crow, head down, come back. And then all I'm gonna do is create a little bit of momentum. I'm gonna lift the knees off the elbows as I come up and bring the head and shoulders down. Try and get that timing right. So as the shoulders and head come down, the hips come up. And then I'm just gonna carry on the movement and stick the legs up a little bit higher. And initially, especially when I'm a little bit scared, I could throw the legs out in that direction, so know that I'm going to underbalance. Or if I'm a bit more comfortable with it, I'm going to go all the way up and see if I can get into a handstand. It's probably easier if you go into a slight banana because your shoulders are in front. If you banana the body, it's going to make it a little bit easier to catch the handstand. Now obviously the faster we go, the more momentum we're going to have, but the issue is you have to deal with that momentum or that energy at the top of the movement. So if you go too crazy, you're likely to throw yourself out of the position, so just be careful of that. Now this is a little bit different to the techniques they use in CrossFit when they kip the knees up or kip the hips open. So I actually can't do that well because I can't kip the hip very well, but from that position they're like use momentum to throw themselves up with the legs. Just a little bit different because this one we're using seesaw type movement, so the shoulders coming down as the hips come up. I prefer using momentum because momentum we can increase easily up and down, so you can decrease or increase it depending on how tired you are or how strict you want to make it. And we can take that over to other things, so other movements. So let's just take it now to the P-bars because we can continue on with that L-sit shoulder stand type movement. So I can go from the L-sit, and as I come round to the shoulder stand, there's my momentum. I can just carry on through and go up. Now, straight away we're going to hit a bit of an issue with the P-bars, is that if you can't handstand on the P-bars, you shouldn't just try and use momentum to get up to that position because you're more likely to fall. So I would first learn to teach yourself how to balance on the P-bars, whether that's up against the wall to start with. So just having them back to wall, get comfortable with going into that position up on the wall. Or just do it over grass or somewhere where you're comfortable. So then we can just take that idea and explore other options. So we can go onto the box. Now with the box, it allows you to take the shoulders and head below the hands. So a bit like using the P-bars, but in a different way because it gives you that level surface. Now if you do have the bigger boxes, you can use these a little bit like a set of P-bars. So if I have the two boxes, I can put them like this and I create those P-bar type movements, and then again I can use momentum to go through. It doesn't have to be this high. So one benefit of being this high, if I want to work on that straight body type movement and really whip the heels through, so I can turn the hands externally, go to more like a bent arm planche position, and then come through with the legs quickly. I can push up from there. That's a little bit different than having the boxes lower and being in a tuck position and rolling through more of that L-sit to shoulder stand like we've done on the P-bars and going up from here. So making that position through to here and then going up into your handstand there. Now obviously you can mess around with the height of the boxes, you can use the IKEA steps. The issue you're going to start to run into, the lower you go, is you're going to run out of space for your legs, so you're going to have to push up a little bit higher. Obviously there's a bit of a flexibility compression component to that as well. A cool one to play with if you're working towards 90-degree handstand push-ups is to take the shoulders in front of the hands, like you're going into a bent arm planche, but you do that quite quickly from the back and then just whip the legs up through your straddle. So I'm getting tired now, but the ones I filmed earlier will have a slightly better technique, but you get the idea. So I'm taking the shoulders forwards. Now obviously we need to have some sort of bent arm planche type position there to play with or go to or visit briefly. So if you struggle with any of these, go back to the strict positions, so especially the end points, so the points where you change direction, and check you can do the thing that you're passing through. Do the movement, the eccentric of the movement, to try and understand it. So if you can't get any of these and you want to work towards them, do the eccentrics, see where your gaps are. Now obviously if you can't kick to a free handstand and handstand, there's going to be an issue straight away. If you can't catch in a crow because you don't have a crow, there's another issue straight away. So find your positions that you struggle with and train them, and then they'll open up the ability to use momentum through those. So let me know if you have any questions with this one. Thumbs up and subscribe would be appreciated, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks guys.